On my wedding night, as I was preparing for our first moment, my husband picked up his phone and video called his mother. He said, "I can't do this without Mom's encouragement." I never imagined my wedding night would become such a terrifying memory. At a time when I should have been overflowing with happiness and anticipation for our first intimate moment as husband and wife, my heart pounded with anxiety and shock. Tonight, in the warm hotel room in New York, I sit huddled on the floor, tears streaming down my face, staring at the phone in my husband's hand. It all happened so fast. Just minutes before, we were embracing lovingly on the bed. I could feel the warmth from him, the man who had officially become my husband this morning. I clearly remember the overwhelming happiness during the ceremony, us holding hands as we entered the wedding reception, laughing with tears of joy in our eyes. Yet now, that joy vanished when he picked up his phone and uttered the words, "Mom, I can't do this without your encouragement." I was so stunned I couldn't speak. In that moment, I couldn't believe my ears. He had just video called his mother on our wedding night as we were about to be intimate for the first time as husband and wife. My heart sank and my mind raced with 100 questions. Why did he do that? What the hell is going on? Is this really the man I just married? The sweet, romantic atmosphere instantly burst like a soap bubble. I felt incredibly ashamed and hurt. How could he let his mother witness, even through a phone screen, our most private moment? His voice trembled as he spoke to his mother through the video call while I was frozen in place. I heard my mother-in-law's sleepy voice from the speaker. "What's wrong, son?" He stammered, saying he was nervous, that, "Mom, I'm so worried. Can you talk to me for a bit?" Oh my God, I was petrified. I quickly pulled the blanket over myself, silently watching my husband sit on the edge of the bed, wearing only his bathrobe, his hand shaking as he held the phone to his ear. I heard my mother-in-law soothing him. "It's okay, Mom's here. Take a deep breath." She was encouraging him with a gentle voice, comforting him as if he were a child. The scene before me was shocking, infuriating, and heartbreaking. Was I his wife, or just an outsider in this bizarre relationship between mother and son? I don't know how long I sat motionless. Maybe just a few minutes or maybe hours. All I know is that when he ended the call, I still hadn't spoken. He looked at me with worry and shame. He hesitantly approached me and tried to put his hand on my shoulder, but I immediately recoiled. My whole body trembled. I felt like a cold undercurrent was sweeping through me. At that moment, all I wanted was to escape the suffocating atmosphere that was crushing my heart. My wedding night had become a nightmare. To understand how I ended up in this absurd situation, I have to look back at everything from the beginning. To help you understand my story better, perhaps I should start from when we first met. I'm 27 years old, living and working in the US, California, and he's 30, born and raised in New York. We met through a mutual friend while attending a tech conference in San Francisco. From our first encounter, he gave me the impression of a gentle, warm-hearted man. Throughout the conference, he actively engaged in conversation, asking about my work and hobbies. We quickly found common ground, especially our shared emphasis on family. I remember him smiling brightly when I told him about family gatherings in California. In return, he shared that his father had passed away when he was 10 and his mother had raised him alone. Hearing his story, I was both touched and filled with admiration for his hardworking mother and their deep bond. After that meeting, we communicated frequently through messages and long phone calls every evening. Despite the distance, it never felt like an obstacle. The more we talked, the more captivated I became by his sincerity and gentleness. 6 months later, he flew to California to visit me. We spent a romantic week together at Santa Monica Beach, where he officially asked me out, and I happily agreed. In the following months, our love continued to grow. Every few months, one of us would arrange to fly and visit the other. Each meeting was filled with joy and reluctance to part. Gradually, I started noticing some unusual signs in his relationship with his mother. However, I was still deeply in love, so everything I saw was tinted rose. Perhaps that's why I ignored some seemingly obvious warning signs. One of the first things that bothered me was the frequency of his communication with his mother. Initially, his daily calls to her seemed normal and admirable. But gradually, I realized it wasn't just one call a day. Some days he called her 4 to 5 times. He called her in the morning after waking up, at noon to report he had eaten, again after work, and before going to bed. If he was busy and didn't call, his mother would call him. They talked about everything, from what he ate, how his work was, the weather, to even very private matters between us. I remember one time we went on a romantic weekend getaway at a resort. In the middle of our trip, his phone rang. It was his mother. He got up and answered the call for quite a while, leaving me waiting. When he returned, he simply said, "Mom missed me," so she called and apologized. At that time, seeing his sincere remorse, I let it go, telling myself not to overthink it. After all, he had chosen to spend the rest of his life with me. I believed that at the time, so surely things would be fine after we got married. But similar incidents kept happening. His mother was always like an invisible shadow in all our activities. He would even text his mother while we were having dinner, just to reassure her. I started to feel strange, but when I asked, he just said, "It's just to make Mom feel at ease. She only has me, so she worries a lot." His words softened my heart. Yes, he's an only child. His father passed away early. His mother raised him single-handedly, so it's understandable that she worries about him. I told myself to be understanding. If my parents got old, I would probably take care of them in the same way. Besides the constant communication, there were other things that puzzled me. For example, his wardrobe was mostly chosen by his mother. Any gifts I gave him, if his mother didn't approve, he rarely used them. It hurt my feelings, but he would coax me, saying his mother was just giving advice because she wanted the best for him. So, I let it slide. Another time, we planned a trip to celebrate our 1-year anniversary, but he canceled the tickets at the last minute because his mother had the flu and he wanted to stay home to take care of her. I was very disappointed but didn't dare to blame him, telling myself to be understanding because he was a devoted son. That particular visit to New York was the first time I met his mother, the woman who would later become my mother-in-law. I had prepared carefully to make a good impression. I bought gifts from California, dressed formally, and tried to behave as gracefully as possible. That day, I stepped into their cozy home in the suburbs of New York. His mother, a woman in her 50s, greeted me with a warm smile and a light hug. She cooked many delicious Vietnamese dishes for me. During the meal, she asked me about my family, work, and life in California. She also cheerfully shared some childhood memories of him, making both mother and son laugh. The atmosphere that day was incredibly warm, making me think I was lucky to soon have such a lovely family-in-law. However, a few small things surprised me. That evening, when I was about to return to my hotel, his mother held my hand regretfully. "Why don't you stay here with the family, dear? Why go to a hotel?" I politely declined because I had already booked a room and didn't want to impose. She forced a smile and turned to tell him, "Drive your friend back and come straight home, okay? It's dangerous at night, I'll wait up." In the car, I teased him, "Your mom worries about you like you're a little kid." He smiled gently. "My mom loves me very much. She's always been like this since I was a child. But she'll love you like her own daughter too. Don't worry." Hearing him say that, I touchily leaned my head on his shoulder, secretly believing in the bright future ahead. 2 years after we started dating, he proposed to me under the sunset on Santa Monica Beach, where our love story began. I burst into happy tears and nodded in agreement. However, the real worries only began when we started preparing for the wedding. Since he was an only son and marrying late, his mother was extremely eager to take care of everything. She practically wanted to decide every detail, from the venue to the number of guests. My opinions were mostly dismissed. He just gently told me to indulge his mother. "As long as Mom is happy, after the wedding we can do whatever we want." Thinking about our long-term happiness, I reluctantly endured it. The most stressful thing was the wedding dress. I dreamed of wearing a puffy princess-style dress, and he supported me. Yet, when his mother saw pictures of me trying on the dress, she criticized it, saying it was childish and flashy. She dragged me to her familiar bridal shop and forced me to choose a more modest dress. Faced with the expectant gaze of my future mother-in-law and his awkwardness, I reluctantly agreed. Tears welled up as I had to give up my dream dress, but I told myself any dress would do, as long as the wedding went smoothly. About a week before the wedding, I stopped by his house and saw his mother folding clothes into a suitcase. She cheerfully said she was packing so that after the wedding ceremony, we could stay at their house for a few days before going on our honeymoon. I was stunned when she said, "The wedding night at our house is better than at a hotel, don't you think?" At that moment, he walked in and quickly and politely declined. We had already booked a hotel for our wedding night, and we had to leave for the airport early the next morning. His mother seemed unhappy, but didn't say anything more. That afternoon, my heart felt heavy. It was clear that his mother had no concept of marital privacy. Still, he held my hand and reassured me that everything would be fine after we moved out. Because I loved him, I tried to believe him. Our wedding took place joyously and beautifully, largely thanks to my mother-in-law. That evening, after the reception, we returned to the hotel to enjoy our private wedding night. The suite was romantically decorated with roses and scented candles, secretly arranged by my best friend. He smiled gently. "Do you like it?" I hugged him emotionally and nodded happily. But that happiness didn't last long. After showering, I anxiously awaited the moment when we would fully belong to each other. To be honest, we had never crossed that line before. Although we had been in love for 2 years, we decided to wait until marriage to be truly intimate. Partly because I wanted it to be special, and partly because he also said he wanted to follow tradition. At that time, I was touched, thinking he was sincere and respected me. Looking back now, it was probably his mother who influenced that decision. On our wedding night, I stepped out of the bathroom in the pristine white silk nightgown I had carefully chosen for this special night. He was sitting on the bed, looking visibly nervous. I gently approached him, sat down beside him, and put my hand on his to reassure him. He turned to look at me, giving a weak smile. I lightly joked to ease the tension. "Why is the groom so nervous? Should the bride take the initiative?" He chuckled awkwardly, but his hand in mine was ice cold. "I started to worry." He sighed. "I'm sorry. I suddenly feel so pressured." I hugged him and said, "It's okay. We'll take it slow." I just thought he was tired after a long day and nervous. I was about to pull him into a kiss to help him relax, but he suddenly stood up. He quickly walked to the bedside table where his phone was. My heart sank, sensing something was wrong. He picked up his phone, his hands shaking. I asked in surprise, "What are you doing?" He didn't answer immediately. He unlocked the screen, scrolled for a few seconds, then turned to look at me with a bewildered expression. Then he mumbled, I'll call Mom for a bit, okay? I think I'll feel better if I talk to her." His words stunned me. I thought I had misheard. I stammered, "You call your mom now? Is something seriously wrong?" His face flushed, and he stammered, "I just need to hear her voice to calm down. Please understand." Before I could finish, he pressed the video call button. Panicked, I rushed to stop him. "Don't. This is our wedding night, what are you?" But it was too late. His mother's face appeared on the screen. She had probably been asleep and was woken up, her hair slightly messy, her eyes squinting from the screen light. I stood frozen, my hand dropping from his. I was completely shocked. He sat down on the edge of the bed, turning the phone so only he was in the frame, probably trying to avoid letting his mother see me. Then he uttered the words I heard at the beginning of the story. "Mom, I can't do this without your encouragement." My face burned with shame and anger. I couldn't believe my husband would say such a thing right in front of me. His mother on the other end looked momentarily surprised, then her eyes filled with concern. "What's wrong, son? Calm down and tell me." He glanced at me, then lowered his head like a child who had made a mistake, his voice small. I'm scared. I don't know what to do." I understood. He was so panicked about sex that he had to call his mother for help. A wave of disappointment washed over me. At that very moment, I realized my marriage might have been a mistake from the start. His mother started comforting him over the phone, her voice soft but loud enough for me to hear. "It's okay. Everyone's like that the first time. Mom's here. I believe my son can do it. Just relax." I couldn't listen anymore. Humiliation, anger, pain, all kinds of emotions surged within me. I ran into the bathroom and slammed the door shut. I sobbed uncontrollably, trying to cover my mouth with my hand to muffle the sound. Tears of shame kept flowing. I vaguely heard him calling my name outside, then his voice continuing to whisper to his mother through the door. Oh God, is this real? I kept pinching myself, wishing it was just a nightmare. About 15 minutes later, a gentle knock on the bathroom door. "Honey, open the door." I didn't answer, holding my breath. He continued patiently. "I'm sorry. Mom hung up a long time ago. I was wrong. Can we talk?" Finally, I opened the door and stepped out. Seeing my tear-stained face, he panicked and tried to wipe my tears, but I brushed his hand away. I choked out, "Why? Why did you do that?" My voice was almost a shout, filled with all my resentment. He collapsed onto the bed, burying his face in his hands. "I'm sorry. I don't know why I panicked like that. I've never. I was afraid of disappointing you." I laughed bitterly. "Disappointing? You called your mom for encouragement on our wedding night without thinking it would disappoint me." He looked up, eyes brimming with tears. I know I was wrong. But at that time, I could only think of Mom. Just hearing her voice made me feel better. "I'm begging you." Looking at the grown man in front of me crying like a child, my heart ached. I didn't know whether to be angry or pity him anymore. I tried to lower my voice, speaking clearly. "Do you understand how much your actions hurt me? Tonight was supposed to be ours. Yet, you dragged your mom into it. How do you expect me to live like this? Are you going to run to your mom for every little thing?" He shook his head frantically. No, just this once. Because I was too stressed. I wearily put my clothes back on. "Enough. I don't want to hear it anymore. You can sleep on the sofa." He stared at me wide-eyed, about to say something, but then lowered his head and silently walked out to the living room. I closed the bedroom door, exhausted, and fell onto the bed. I stared blankly at the dark ceiling, tears silently soaking my pillow. That's how my wedding night ended. No blissful consummation, just tears and pain. The next morning, I woke up with swollen eyes and a heavy heart. Sunlight peeked through the curtains, signaling a new day, but I couldn't see any glimmer of hope. Stepping out into the living room, I saw him curled up on the sofa, dark circles under his eyes. Hearing the noise, he startled awake, sat up, and looked at me intently. The room was filled with a suffocating silence. I spoke in a hoarse voice. "Pack your things. I think we should postpone our honeymoon." According to the plan, we were supposed to fly to Hawaii this morning for a 2-week honeymoon. But now, I couldn't imagine pretending to be happy with him as if nothing had happened. He frantically stood up. "But I'm sorry. Don't cancel the trip. Give me a chance, please. It was just a misunderstanding." I crossed my arms, trying to stay calm. "Misunderstanding? You think what happened last night was just a misunderstanding?" I looked him straight in the eyes. "Honey, our problem is much more serious than you think. I need time to think." He stumbled towards me, trying to hold my hand. His voice panicked. "Don't do this. I know I was wrong. I promise it will never happen again. I love you. I don't want to lose you." My heart wrenched at his words. I loved him too, very much. But the image of him calling his mother for help last night flashed back, sending shivers down my spine. I took a deep breath. "I'm not saying I'm leaving you. I just said I need time. We'll postpone the honeymoon. I want to go home now." Home here meant the apartment I rented before the wedding. We planned to move in there after returning from Hawaii. I'd rather be there alone than stay another minute in this room. He nodded, silently packing his luggage. Throughout that time, he kept glancing at me remorsefully, like a puppy afraid of being abandoned. Normally, I would have softened, but now I felt empty. Back at my apartment, we continued to talk. This was the most difficult conversation we'd ever had. I spoke gently but firmly. "Please honestly explain to me why you had to call your mom in that situation. Don't you think that was wrong? He hung his head, his hands intertwined. I know it was wrong. But I was so panicked. I've never been intimate with anyone before. Mom was the only person I thought could help me calm down. I pressed, but why your mom? I'm your wife. Didn't you think I could help you through that? My voice choked. He teared up. It's not that I didn't trust you. It's just, Mom has always helped me with everything since I was little. Whenever I'm scared or stressed, she's always there. Last night, when I was afraid of disappointing you, so I thought if I just heard Mom's voice, she would give me advice or encourage me, and then I would be okay. I chuckled bitterly. Advice? You thought your mom could guide you on how to do it, too. My sarcasm made him blush, stammering. No. I just needed Mom to calm me down. I sighed. It was clear my husband had a significant psychological dependence on his mother. Perhaps from childhood, she had never left his side. I spoke, softening my voice. Honey, I understand your feelings for your mom. I appreciate her and am grateful that she raised you. But do you think your relationship lacks boundaries? Like last night, for example, that was a private matter between us. No one else should have been involved. He was silent for a long time, then said dejectedly, Maybe, you're right. I am too dependent on Mom. But she only has me. I don't want her to be sad. I nodded. I'm not saying you should make your mom sad. I just want you to understand that from now on, I'm your family. I hope you can stand on your own 2 feet and build our own family together. Think about it. If you go to your mom first for everything, what significance do I, your wife, have in your life? He panicked. No, you're very important. It's because I was afraid of losing you that I freaked out like that. I raised my hand to stop him. Okay, here's what we'll do. We're both tired. I think we should take a few days apart to calm down. Go back to your mom's. I'll stay here. When we're ready, we'll talk again. Hearing that, he was horrified. Are you kicking me out? This is our problem. Why should we separate? Tears welled up again. I'm not kicking you out. I just want some time to think. I don't know if I can continue. I'm sorry. He stared silently as I cried. Probably afraid that if he argued further, I would be even more heartbroken, so he finally agreed. Before leaving, he held my hand, his voice pleading, I'll leave you alone for a few days. But please don't leave me. I promise I'll change. Trust me just this once, okay? I didn't answer, just silently pulled my hand away. He stood there for a moment, his eyes full of despair, then quietly turned and walked out the door. When the door closed, I buried my face in my hands and sobbed. Was this how our dream honeymoon was supposed to be? I felt like my world had collapsed. I called my parents in California and my best friend to tell them what had happened. Everyone was stunned. My friend even advised me to end the marriage early. My parents were worried, but calmly advised me to think things through and do what made me feel most at peace. As for me, my heart was in turmoil, not knowing what to do, because apart from this incident, he had always been good to me. Finally, I decided we should separate for a few days so we could both calm down. A few days later, we met again. He apologized profusely and asked me for a chance to make amends. In that conversation, I frankly gave him a condition. If he wanted to continue the marriage, he had to attend couples counseling with me and learn to set clear boundaries with his mother. Initially, he hesitated because he wasn't used to airing family laundry to strangers, but then, fearing he would lose me, he agreed. We started attending counseling sessions for newlyweds. The first few sessions weren't easy. My husband was naturally quiet and shy around strangers, so he mostly sat silently. I cried while recounting my awkward situation. The therapist, a very understanding middle-aged woman, listened and gently explained to us about boundaries in relationships. She pointed out that my husband seemed unable to differentiate between the roles of mother and wife, and that he himself felt pressured to be both a good son to his mother and a mature husband to his wife. In the following sessions, my husband gradually opened up more. He confessed that he had always lived under his mother's protection, so he was afraid of independence and failure. His mother always guided him in everything, so when faced with something new like a marital relationship, he subconsciously sought the safety of his mother. He held my hand tightly, cried, and said, "I'm truly sorry. It's my fault, not Mom's. She just wanted to help me." I choked back tears. "I understand. But it's because your mom loves you too much that you've become like this. If you can't break free, all three of us will suffer." Under the therapist's guidance, we agreed on some ground rules regarding boundaries with my mother-in-law. For instance, we agreed not to share private matters between us with his mother. He would reduce the frequency of his calls to her to a reasonable level and prioritize time for our small family. And all important decisions would be discussed between us first before informing his mother. As for me, I also promised to be respectful and polite to my mother-in-law, not preventing him from caring for her as long as it was within reasonable limits. We treated this small agreement as a promise to each other. That period was truly difficult because he had to learn new habits after decades of living differently. There were times when I caught him secretly calling his mother more than the quota when I wasn't home, or he hid from me the fact that he gave his mother a large sum of money without discussing it with me first. Each time, we would have another disagreement. During moments of extreme tension, I wanted to give up. But seeing his clumsy efforts, my heart softened. My husband also made positive changes, albeit slowly. He began to learn how to handle small tasks without asking his mother. He went grocery shopping and cooked with me, even though he was used to Mom's cooking. He actively engaged with my family, thanks to which, in addition to affection from his wife, he also received objective advice from his in-laws, not just one-sided input from his mother. My mother-in-law was initially sulky when she saw her son calling less often. She even came to our house late one night because she missed her son so much. My husband gently declined, promising to visit her the next day, which made her a little sad. Although I felt a little guilty, I was glad that he was starting to set boundaries with his mother. Of course, things couldn't change overnight. But compared to that horrifying wedding night, I saw a glimmer of hope. My husband truly loved me and wanted to save our marriage. That was evident in his efforts. Although his mom addiction would occasionally resurface, each time, we patiently reminded each other of the boundary agreement we had established. Now, writing these lines, I can smile gently. More than a year has passed since that tearful wedding night, and our marriage, fortunately, didn't end in divorce. On the contrary, we are happy in a more mature and understanding way. After many ups and downs, we finally found a balance in our relationship with my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law, after a period of sulking because she felt like she had lost her son, gradually accepted that her son couldn't always be a child dependent on his mother. Especially when I became pregnant with our first child. Yes, happy news came to us 3 months ago. She shifted her focus to her new role, a future grandmother. She still loves her son, but she has learned to respect our private life more. Perhaps she understands that now we are about to become parents ourselves, we need to make our own decisions for our little family. Looking back on our journey, I feel much stronger and more mature. If it weren't for the shock of our wedding night, I might still naively think that love is enough. But marriage isn't just about two people, especially when marrying someone so close to their family like my husband. I learned to listen to my instincts and face problems instead of avoiding them. I sensed the unusual signs from the beginning. If only I had been more frank with him, perhaps I could have avoided the hurt. Better late than never, we finally fixed things together. I also learned a lesson about boundaries and maturity. It's great for a man to be filial to his mother, but he must also be mature and take responsibility for his own life. Otherwise, he's not truly ready for marriage. My husband was fortunate to realize that and change before it was too late, and I also learned to patiently accompany him instead of giving up in anger. My current life isn't entirely rosy. Sometimes, differences in lifestyle and family culture between me and my husband's family still cause minor conflicts. My mother-in-law still calls her son a bit too much, still worries excessively when we make decisions without consulting her. But instead of getting annoyed, I've learned to communicate openly with my husband, and he knows how to gently reassure his mother. Most importantly, I now trust my husband more than before. He has proven through his actions that he values our small family. He no longer lets his mother interfere deeply in our private matters. We still visit and care for his mother regularly, but everything is within reasonable limits and with the consent of both of us. Looking back on our journey, I silently thank the challenges that gave me the opportunity to learn many valuable lessons. Listen to your intuition. If something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Have an open conversation with your loved one about your concerns. Set clear boundaries. No matter how much you love your family, everyone needs boundaries when starting their own family. Clarity from the beginning helps prevent much hurt later on. Be patient and forgiving. No one is perfect. If the problem can be solved, give each other a chance to make amends. Sincere love, combined with a genuine effort to change, can resolve seemingly impossible situations. Finally, thank you for listening to this long story. I wrote it not only to unburden myself, but also in the hope that someone reading this might find something useful for themselves. Family is precious, but love also needs to be expressed in the right way. I have learned to love while maintaining my own boundaries. Now, I can confidently say, I am happy in a very realistic and peaceful way.